Hey guys, what's up? It's Salacha here, and I am bringing you a TDM match on Crisis. That's just Crisis. And I am using the infield solely for the fact that it's earlier in one of the prestiges. I don't think the Enfield is a very good gun at all, due to two things. I haven't looked at the actual numbers, but from what it seems like with this gun, it's got a very low fire rate for a gun that does 30 to 35 damage. Unlike if you're using the FAMAS, you'd have the same damage, but the fire rate's a lot bigger. So I don't really recommend you use this gun, but it was the only one available to me that was a fully automatic, and I generally only use fully automatic guns exclusively because I don't have a lot of success with the burst or the single fire weapons. What guns I generally like to move towards are the 40 damage automatic assaults, and that's for a couple reasons. One, you get 2-shot kills to the head, and two, if your aim's not quite on, you can spray a little bit and get kills. Not to mention that with the bullet detection the way it is in this game, you want the bullets that you actually hit with to make as big of a difference as possible. And I'm sure there's some math that can go into that to see if that actually applies, but at least that's what it seems like to me. As far as the best gun selection that you guys can use, I would definitely go with the AK-47. It's for sure got the most consistent, it's got recoil, but it's got the most consistent recoil of any of the assault rifles. The 40 damage assault rifles, in my opinion, just because it kicks up a little bit like exclusively. So it's really controllable, and I really recommend that if you guys use the AK-47, it's really going to help your game. And I think it'll probably end up being one of the better guns in this game once it all boils down. A lot of people complain about the AK-74U, which I bring up just because it's basically very similar to the AK-47. And I don't think the AK-74U is overpowered. I just think that all the other SMGs are garbage. When you're going up with the AK-74U against an assault rifle, at medium range, I feel the guns are very even. And of course, at short range, you should have an advantage with small machine guns. And at long range, the assault rifles kick the shit out of the AK-74U. So I don't think the AK-74U is overpowered per se. I think they definitely need to buff some of the other small machine guns, though, because as far as I'm concerned, they're garbage. If I'm using a small machine gun, I'm sorry, guys, but I'm going to be using the AK-74U just because I don't find any of the other ones worth my time to use. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about in this commentary is sound whoring in Black Ops. It's a lot different than what you guys are used to in Modern Warfare 2 and COD 4 and all those other games. I know I've seen a lot of videos out there kind of saying that it's not the same, you can't sound whore, and they're like, oh, you have to listen to this and that, but I haven't really seen a very good breakdown of exactly what you guys need to be looking for if you have a headset or if you have speakers, since the sounds you're listening for can probably be heard on speakers too. What you need to do is there's two main sounds that you guys are going to want to listen for, and then a couple secondary sounds. The main sounds you guys are going to want to listen for are yells and shouts, as well as, as I get owned here, yells and shouts, as well as falling, the sound of someone falling. Oh, and a quick tip here, when you get a care package, I generally like to wait until after I die to call it in, because that's going to give you the most safety from enemies, just because they hopefully spawn you away. Of course, here I get destroyed. But, okay, so back to sound whoring. What you guys are going to want to do is listen for, as I said earlier, yells and falling damage. In this game, there's always two teams, and one, as far as I know, they always speak two different languages. So you always want to listen for shouts from the other language, because that's going to give you a really good idea of where someone's coming from. Later in this game, I'll point out when I get to it, I'm standing near a box over on that other side of the map that I was at the beginning, and I hear a yell to my right, and I know immediately that there's going to be a guy coming from that direction. So instead of footsteps, you want to listen for those yells and shouts. Oh, and always check care packages, because I was able to reach that one, luckily. Oh, and let me take a break here for a second, because I'm going to do something really embarrassing in a sec. Right here, I'm calling in my mortar strike, which I called in right in front of me down this wall, because that's where all the red dots were. And right here, I notice on the radar right behind me that there's a guy. So I jump over and absolutely own myself with that mortar strike. I didn't notice that that's what killed me until after I saw this. And I'm going to fast forward through some of the parts where I'm kind of fucking around and don't really notice or do anything productive. So with sound horn, you want to listen for those yells, for sure, because that's going to give you a good idea of where in there. You can also listen for falls, because there's a lot of, like, with, like, Hanoi, Crisis. There's a bunch of different maps with, like, those buildings, Havana a little bit, where you can find people jumping off out of windows and things like that. And you can hear those falls, and that's going to give you a really good idea of where people are coming from. A few of the other things you can listen for, but as you could always, are explosions and gunfire. But that more of gives me a kind of an idea of what's going on in the map totally, rather than what's going on really close to me. Right there, that you just saw, if you want to back it up, that's where I heard the guy coming from my side, and I was able to get him really easily just because I knew that that's where he was coming from. So as I was saying, yeah, gunfire and explosives, you want to use those just to get an overall feel for what's going on in the map. There's so much gunfire but you can really tell like how far away it is, so and what direction it's coming from, so you're gonna be able to know what's going on in each part of the map. Right here, I'm going back to the play that I started with at the beginning of the game before I stopped making mistakes. So I'm staying pretty conservative, and I'm really making sure that I have the advantage in every fight when I go up against the enemy. That's generally what I do in TDM. I don't, in domination and headquarters, when you see games from me like that, I'll be running around a lot more because I'm a big objective player when it comes to those game modes. I'll get pistoled, son. And I'm far more concerned with getting the objectives and winning the game than my KD ratio. So you'll see me post here games here where I have like a 1.1 or 1.2 KD ratio. But if I'm happy with how much I help my team with defense and caps, I'm going to post the game. Because I feel like that's what's really important when you're in those kinds of games, not your kill-death ratio. Even though, I mean, that's the fun. But if I get a kill streak or two, I mean, I'll show you guys. But in TDM, you want to be a lot more conservative, but not so conservative in a way that you sit in a corner. As you can see here, I move very carefully through the map, and I'm always aware of what's going on around me. So you don't want to ever be just sprinting around carelessly, and that's really going to help you keep your KD high. In this game, you'll see I go 24-8, with one suicide, so 24-7. And even though it's not the best kill-death ratio, I mean, I was plus 17, which is what really matters in TDM as far as I'm concerned, and that really helps your team out if you can go plus 17, plus 18 every game. If you and one of your friends can do that, you can win every single game you guys play. I forgot to mention what perks I'm using. I'm using Ghost, Sleight of Hand, and Hacker. I generally always use Sleight of Hand and Hacker in those two slots. I sometimes use Marathon for some objective games, but very rarely will I do that. I think those are pretty much the two strongest perks. Wow, that guy just kind of rolled out. That was weird. But in the blue, I switch between Scavenger, Ghost, and what's the other one? Scavenger, Ghost, and Hardline, just depending on what class setup I'm running. Right here, you notice that I'm crouching in front of this doorway. That's something that you generally want to do, so you can catch guys running around like that. And I'm not sure if you guys know this, but crouching as well as proning also decreases how much recoil you have on your gun. So that's really a good option for a lot of different reasons. And whenever you go in front of a doorway like this, I would recommend crouching just so you can have the upper hand and guys won't be ready for you. This guy, I didn't notice until now, but he's being chased down by that enemy. I'm glad he didn't see me. And I'm going to clean him up for the easy last kill. That's the end of the game. I appreciate you guys watching. If you look at the final score here, I finished with a score of 24-8, 24-7 if you don't include the suicide that I had. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.